to a new art journal video. Today I am using my brand new distress sprays and some stencils, and I'm making the page you can see here. So if you want to see how I did this and how I used my distress sprays, then just keep on watching. And this time I'm using my small dilutions journal instead of the large one. And I haven't been using this one a lot, but I really like it and I actually find it a lot easier to work with. And the pages in this one is not as intimidating as the big empty ones in the large journal. And as usual, I am taping the seam of the journal to keep any products from seeping through to the other pages, and also to strengthen the seam and keep the pages in place. And my plan was to make a pretty clean and simple page and keep a lot of the background showing, and therefore I wanted the background to be white, and I used my white gesso all over the spread. And I dry the gesso with my heat gun to speed up the process a bit. And the gesso I'm using is the Studio Gesso from Ranger, and this is a really fast drying one, which I really like. And I do have some other brands of gesso as well, and some of the ones I bought in the art supply shop, they take more than 12 hours to dry, and using the heat gun doesn't even help to speed it up. So I was thrilled when I found this one. And after the gesso was dry, I thought about adding some texture to the page and found some old alphabet stickers and added them. And I did realize after I had started adhering the stickers that it wouldn't really look very good with the white background as I had originally planned. So I decided to just do something else instead. And I wanted to make sure that the stickers was going to stay in place, and I also wanted to seal in the white in the background so that nothing would transfer through the pages in any direction. Because sometimes when you add a lot of moisture to a page, the color from the back of the page can transfer and show through on the pages you're working on, and vice versa. But by adding a coat of matte medium, I make sure that nothing will move. And I also added some crystal glass beads from Prima and Finnabair, and I added them before my matte medium was dry so that they would adhere to the page. And the stickers are a bit grayish, and I wanted them to blend in more with the background, so I went over the whole page with gesso again. If I had known I would do it this way when I started, I would have skipped my first layer of gesso. And after I dried the whole page, I used a few colors of distress spray and went for a bit of a fall-inspired color scheme here. And I used yellow, orange, green and brown. And I also added some metallic for a little bit of shimmer. And I sprayed the light colors on top and the darker ones along the bottom to get a gradient effect. And I dried the ink a few times and added more layers to get a more intense look. I noticed that these ink didn't really absorb into the gesso, and they kind of just stay on top of it. It's like the gesso resists ink in a way, which I didn't really think it would. So that is a bit of a surprise, and I'm not sure I like that. When the ink is somewhat dry, I used a stencil from Tim Holtz to add more detail on the bottom of the page. And I used a dark brown ink for this. I think it may have been walnut stained, but I'm not sure. But I will find out and list all of the colors that I used in the description box below. And when that ink was dried as well, I used a palette knife and some gesso to add some white on the top of the page. I also tried adding some white to the bottom of the page, but it didn't really work out that well, and I lost that nice dark color I originally had. So I tried coloring my gesso with green ink and add that, which still wasn't dark enough. So I tried using the brown ink, and I didn't like that either. So instead I just sprayed the bottom with the brown ink and dried it with my heat gun. Unfortunately, when drying it, the green and the brown spray ink mixed with the gesso and ended up being some sort of purplish gray color that I most definitely did not want. But I added some more brown and it turned out pretty okay in the end. At this point I more or less hated the page and I was completely lost and didn't know what to do about it. But I went through my stencil drawer and found this large tree stencil which reminded me of Halloween. So I thought that this tree sprayed in black would probably go pretty well with my orange background. So I sprayed the stencil with my black soot distress spray. And it's a bit hard to get a crisp image when using a stencil with spray inks, especially when trying to get the image over a whole spread, which have a lot of texture like I have. But I didn't really care about that, and I thought it looked more than okay with those blurry edges. And since I didn't like the white on top of the page, I used a color mist from Heidi Swapp in a gold color and sprayed this all over the page, focusing mostly on the edges. This toned down the white a lot and sort of brought the page together more. And then I used some old alphabet stickers to write my sentiment, and for the larger letters I used matte medium to adhere them to the page. They do have adhesive on the back, but it's not strong enough to keep them stuck down on a page like this, so to make sure they won't fall off, I add my own glue. And then I dried the page as much as I could with my heat gun, but as I said before, the distress sprays just lies on top of the gesso and they won't really dry for some reason. They are still really tacky, and if I touch the page I get paint on my fingers even after 9 hours. I will leave it overnight and see what happens, but it seems like the ink won't dry at all, which is a shame. I often use spray inks and gesso together, and I had really hoped that I would be able to do so with these ones as well. But I still like these sprays and I can't wait to use them on future projects. And I will keep experimenting to see what I can and cannot do with them. So that was all for this video. If you liked it, then please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.